Hello and welcome back to coverage of Paprika's Open number 8. We are in round 4 of the big card market standard trial. And so far, this tournament has shown the strength of Esper Control deck. It has been able to withstand all the assaults from different types of decks. So we saw it defeat the mono blue deck, the Golgari Splashing Sultai mid-range deck. Hello, that's us, Piotr Bomak and
Piotr Głogowski,
also known as
Canister.
The MPL Pro. So, we are going to see if we are going to have another Esper matchup in the fourth round. Ooh, who do we have here?
Well, we will, since the player on the left is
a powerful planeswalker,
a powerful wizard from Poznań, my hometown. We frequently play Magic the Gathering together, and he's playing exactly that, Esper Control. So,
and all of this Esper Control coverage is brought to you by the sponsors that you can see on the screen. So MTG Spot, Ultimate Guard, Cardmarket.eu, Runtime.gg, Exer Studios, Świat Kawy I Herbaty, and Psychotov.pl. We don't know what Jędrek is going to face yet, but we should get the deck lists shortly. And we will see. Let's just remind you that the players are competing for a total prize pool of over 2,000 euros in prizes like booster boxes and card accessories such as sleeves, playmats, deck cases, and also for the winner of this tournament, foil Teferi, Hero of the Minaria, ×4. So it's only fitting that an Esper Control would take this down.
okay, so we will see what is Lucas's weapon of choice when the players are done shuffling their decks and presenting to each other, rolling their dice and all that other jazz.
Jędrek won the die roll. I guess he wants to go first.
That's a surprising archetype. Lucas Milhouse is playing in Mardu Knights deck, which is somewhat of a spicy take, looking somewhat similar to the Boros Angels deck of old standard format. So we are going to see how this fares when faced against the Esper Control Menace, I guess. At this point it's Menace because that's the fourth time it's on stream, so we're going to call it Menace from now on.
Okay, so the Mardu Knights is going to try to fight the Menace with cards like Knight of Grace, Knight of Malice, which are pretty resilient against especially multicolored removal like Mortify.
Funnily, both of those are hexproof against Mortify, and that the same is true for Adanto Vanguard. So the set of 2-drops that Lucas is running is very resilient to that specific removal spell.
On the other hand, the deck runs quite a lot of interesting removal spells. Some of them are going to be dead in this matchup.
Yeah, in his decklist we see, in Lucas's decklist we see double Lava Coil, double Bedevil, double Mortify, and double Vraska's Contempt, of which Mortify I guess only Lava Coil is truly
Only
dead.
Lava Coil is dead,
Mortify
yeah.
you can point at Search for Ascanta, and Contempt and Bedevil are fine answers to the hero of Dominaria.
Alright, let's see the 3 mana enchantment being played. That's History of Benalia.
And you can see that Lucas, given Jendrek's start, Lucas is really
Developing some kind of
Yeah.
dominance on the board. Being able
a
to
board that's really resilient to many things that Yenji could produce. Kaya's Wrath is not ideal at dealing with that. Valiant Knight, that's a spicy monster that Yenji needs to pick up and read. It is a Knight Lord. It provides each Knight with a +1/+1 bonus, and it has an activity ability that allows to give your Knights double strike for 5 mana until end of turn. It's a free for itself.
It is a card that you do not see very often, but a very welcome change of pace.
Yeah, but given a slight Knight theme in Lucas's mid-range deck, he opted to run some Night Lords in his deck list. And you can see that the NJ actually absorbs the Lord, which is somewhat of a sign of a weakness. The Kaya's Wrath would not be ideal right now anyways because of Adanta Vanguard, but that points toward the NJ just not having an easy way out.
We see the 3rd chapter of History of Benalia activating, giving the knights that Lucas controls +2 and +1 bonus.
That's actually 11 damage, so that is lethal as for us right now. So NJ spends 2 cast downs to deal with History of Benalia, making History of Benalia into this clean 2-for-1. Lucas immediately follows up with another one. How could you not after seeing how successful the first one was? He's ready with a Mortify, a Bedevil, and a Contempt, so
I guess he's pretty insulated against the
the
fairy.
fairy. Adanta Vanguard is truly a menacing presence right now because NJ did not find his main deck moment of craving. He only runs one, so it's not the easiest to find it, and Russia's Contempt is not the most efficient answer to Adanta Vanguard.
Henry actually does have a negate in hand alongside the Teferi.
That's a way to protect the fairy, but
But then again, the Teferi
might
also
see-
dies to the board.
we might see the fairy minusing and getting rid of the Adanta Vanguard. Yenji opts not to do that, just sticks the fairy to the board. There's a reasonable thought to send his counter spells and draw spells right now, plus the Vraska's Contempt. He's shuffling face cards very quickly, making it, not making our job much easier, but I try the best I can.
See what Lucas is doing. He's holding his hand up. He's keeping it steady. We can analyze what's in it. That's how you should
Yeah.
help the coverage team.
He drew a land, so now he has all of those removal spells versus the fairy. A reasonable line of play is to spend a Contempt pre-combat, because Contempt is the only one you cannot double spell with, and you don't care about exiling. Like, it is not functionally different to exile it and gain 2 life. Then it is to destroy it, so I can just keep it. Genji decides to absorb, which grants him a nice extra 3 life points. They are somewhat nice, but not overly nice, since, again, the same scenario happens with History of Benalia 3rd chapter. Lucas is going to present 11 points of damages on the battlefield.
Which is going to require some kind of an answer.
Yes,
So let's see what happens this time.
probably Contempt on... Surprisingly, Knight
A
token, not
Knight.
Adanta Vanguard.
So that's 5 damage.
Yenji
Right.
might be looking to... Oh, Yenji has another Contempt. This is why he contempted Adanta Vanguard. Probably regrets that as soon as the second one hits the board. because that means that he needs to find an answer to the extra Adanto Vanguard 2 in the end at some point.
And the third Adanto Vanguard joins the party. Gets contempted. Second one gets contempted, and the third one must not be a welcome sight.
Yeah, Yencho is in a really tough spot against those Vanguards.
And scoops them up. So the Adanto Vanguards and their resilience really showing strength against at least the main board configuration of Esper Control.
That is truly an excellent 2-drop right now. I do like how how nice it is to play it right now. Like Lucas clearly got rewarded for playing, Lucas clearly punished Yenchi for playing a limited amount of answers to Adanto Vanguard this game, because that was mostly what made it tough for Yenchi to win this one. And that's not something that we had not seen before. In fact, roughly exactly the same thing has happened the last time. In the last standard format, the Jeskai decks of old, the Jeskai control decks started popping up, and they were popular for some time. But for some time, they actually had no answers to Adanto Vanguard, and there was at least one weekend where you could have really exploited that when they didn't run a appropriate amount of answers to that, and they literally could have only tackled with the fairy. It's not truly the case for the Esper control deck, but still, Vraska's Contempt, not the ideal answer to a 2-drop, especially when you're on the draw, and especially if your opponent is casting other spells, which they will.
Ideally they will. We could see that Lucas was sort of putting some cards to the side. So those cards were Resplendent Angels, Mortifies, some Knights of Malice, Lava Coils, Knights of Grace as well. So these are the cards, and Valiant Knights. These are the cards he's considering when it comes to his sideboard decision. And there are some spicy cards in the sideboard itself. So we've got likes of Dire Fleet Daredevil, so the 2-1 with first strike and the ability to pick up a card from your opponent's graveyard and
Instant or sorcery card.
Yeah, instant or sorcery card, and play it that turn.
Really good against Thought Erasure, and good as extra answers to threats that Jendrik might have brought, like Lyras or Hostage Takers, if he chooses to do so, which is likely. In addition to that, Lucas has a copy of Spawn of Mayhem, which is a menacing threat that he might choose to bring in.
It's just a giant beater, yes.
Two copies of Angrav, the Flame Chained. 2 copies of Banefire. Banefire is not what it used to be, since the control decks do not typically run Settle the Wreckage anymore. And Banefire was the best at punishing this exact card, but still, potentially a viable weapon to end the game with. Its value also lessens with the existence of Thought Erasure in the control decks, because you cannot, you cannot hold it for forever. Your opponent will just discard it if it actually is threatened. Absorb also makes it worse.
So this incidental life gain, basically, yes.
Yeah. But to back it up, Lucas, of course, has a pretty typical quad duress in his sideboard too.
Pretty sure that's coming in.
Yeah, that could be potentially helpful.
All right, we will see how this will go. Will the Menace, the winner of the last 3 rounds, so the Esper control deck, will it finally be defeated?
Actually, we have spoken about the Adanto Vanguard being unkillable, but looking at the NJ deck list, Knight of Grace is hexproof from black. It's also not really... NJ is also not really able to kill that card all that easily. It requires a Chaos Wrath and cannot die to Vraska's Contempt, which is a really tough spot to be in. You have 2 different 2-drops. One of them can only be killed by one of your 4 mana cards, and the other one can only be swept by the other one of your 4 mana cards.
Then again, Jendrik is slightly prepared to those by having some Cry of the Carnarium.
Oh yeah,
Cry is going
to be potentially great, that is true.
because hexproof will not prevent the -2/-2 happening. That's not targeting, so that might be the silver bullet he needs against those resilient threats.
It is very, very true.
So let's see if the players are happy with their 7 card hands. We see Angrath coming in from the sideboard, some duress. And I guess we have a game.
Genji has a 2-lander with some removal spells and one absorb and one Sage Frascanta. The most unique card is Sage Frascanta. Let's see if Lucas decides to pick that up. Yeah.
He does, and leaves the rest in Jendrik's hand. Of course, he's going to write the contents of the hand down.
Interesting to know whether Yenji boarded in some amount of creatures on his own, Thief of Sanity. I would believe that if he does so, you'll be more likely to do it on the play than to do it on the draw. But given how poorly some of his removal spells line up and that he needs to sweep to deal with some of Lucas's threats, boarding in creatures might be,
Counterintuitive.
well, just I wanted to say that
Wrong.
it might be just bad because you're going to end up hurting yourself more. And like here you see that Knight of Grace is posing a huge problem. Yenji has a Knight Moment of Craving which will line up nicely, but it won't. It would line up nicely with the Adante Vanguard.
Yes, this is a huge problem.
In addition to that, Yenji chose to play his land tapped to not take shock land damage just for absorb.
That led to resolution of History of Benalia.
Yeah, not sure if I would be all that high on countering History of Benalia either, so it's very reasonable. But it still is going to be 2 for 1 if Yenji wants to deal with the Knight with a Frasca's Contempt. This
Midnight Reaper.
Midnight Reaper probably will get contempted before Knight of Grace damage to save 1 more life point. Also, notably, it was not really relevant too frequently, because typically there are not too many decks running Midnight Reaper and History of Benalia, but Midnight Reaper is indeed a zombie, so it's also, I mean, it's a zombie knight, so it is pumped by History of Benalia.
That is interesting, indeed. I did not know that.
Yeah, Lucas just jumps his Angrath during his History of Benalia turn. That's actually kind of quite smart. What it allows you to do is it forces an absorb on the turn where your creatures are pumped, so you just jump for 8.
Yes, let's remind those of you who do not remember the Angrath's abilities. Like +1 is your target opponent discards a card and loses 2 life, right? Minus ability is.
Oh, I see.
What happened?
Yenji does not have a second blue source, which means that this is why he was not keeping the absorb up.
Okay.
This is why he let the Angrath resolve, and he actually discarded the absorb to it. Lucas has an extra Angrath. This is incredibly punishing.
Yenji has an extra Frasca's Contempt, but now he's empty-handed.
Yeah, Lucas is almost empty-handed. 2 as well. Well, he has 2 more cards, but one of them is a land. Can't see what is the last card, but Lyra is a good pickup for ENJ. A pretty decent top deck.
Above average. Resplendent Angel is going to be added to the board. That thing can be pumped actually and can deal with Lyra, but not this turn.
No, it can. It's a 3/3 and it pumps
to 5/5.
To a 5/5.
Oh, to a 5/5. Sorry, yeah. First strike damage, of course.
Yeah, it's going to die to first strike damage. Slightly surprised that that's a threat that Lucas opted to leave in his deck, but
Perhaps it
It's
was
the-
the
it's-
best of the worst cards.
It is very much possible. It certainly does not allow Yenji to attack with his Lyra unless he has a removal spell to deal with the card.
And
Kaya's
then
Wrath.
Kaya's Wrath.
Yeah, the Kaya's Wrath text was relevant this time, gaining 1 life point. Yenji didn't want to keep his Kaya's Wrath to play around duress and just gain 5 life with Lyra.
Aurelia, Exemplar
Yeah.
of Justice.
Unfortunately, Lucas has a threat. It's not the most,
It's a 4
not the fastest threat. It's like
4/5 vigilance.
4 or 5 vigilance, a 3 turn clock from now. I believe Yenji's life total is now 10. It's going to go down to 6 if he doesn't have an answer again. Yenji is digging for that answer, binning a land, and there are many cards that answer Lyra. And Yenji needs to find one of them right now.
Yes. This is
Lucas
the last turn.
seems to be blanking on the answer, and
Very quickly, Mardu Knights from Lucas Milos pick up the win over Esper Control.
yeah, a pretty rogue deck. We have not seen a deck like this. I guess, as I said, it is pretty reminiscent of the Poros Angels deck of the last standard format, using the better mana base to splash some black cards, Rascal's Contempt, Mortify, Midnight Reaper, Knight of Malice, and using the Knight of Grace and Advent of Vanguard to put a strain on those Esper control decks.
Yes,
Yes, mainly.
Yes, those cards are just a nightmare to deal with for an Esper Control deck, so I guess good card choices lead to good results in tournaments. Hi, that's
Yeah,
us.
That's a mid-range deck with much more threatening 2-drops than a Sultai deck, for example. The Sultai deck against a Esper control deck needs to engage in a longer, drawn-out resource battle when it plays against Esper. This can rely on its aggressive draws to punch a hole in the to pressure the life total of Esper's deck, and then try to win the game with either just the beats or some big threat.
All right. So now we are going to go to a short break. We will see if the winner of this round wants to share a couple of words with you guys. And until then, stay tuned and enjoy the view.